Hello, it's Dr. Jeffrey Spiegel from the Spiegel Center, and I am very fortunate to be sitting here and speaking with the very well-known Stef Sanjati,
Hi.
internet star and YouTube video blogger and media personality and all sorts of other titles and hats that you wear.
Well, thank you.
Well, thank you for coming down to speak with us
Thank
today.
you for having me again. I'm so excited.
So you have a huge following of people who watch you and follow your life and pay attention to everything you say and do and talk about it and respond and interact with you.
Yes.
So how did this all start?
It actually started for me when I was in high school. I was not one of the popular kids. I had some friends, but my social experience was very limited. So where other kids were, going out and walking around town and forming their groups, I was online. And that's where I think I grew up, is the internet, not so much my hometown, right? So YouTube, which is my main platform and my main focus for where I work now, when I was growing up, was a tool for me to learn about being social, learn about being a person. And it just felt natural to turn it into work when I had the opportunity.
So how did you start? So you one day said, let me make a video about what I'm thinking about?
Yeah.
Well, how did it go?
I guess, like in high school, I would talk about what was happening with my life. I would do makeup videos, stuff like that. And then I stopped after high school and went to college. When I went to college, because I wanted to be all serious and do my career stuff. Little did I know that was my career. And then I started again. I had a friend who let me borrow a camera, and I got lucky, and a video got a lot of hits. And I kind of worked with that momentum, and I built up a following over time. So yeah, I guess I just decided to start recording and started to put myself out there. It was very cut and dry.
Now, have you found that certain topics really hit with the audience and hit with your fans?
Yes. I find any videos where I'm talking about my transition or any videos where I'm talking about trans issues in general get a lot more views, because that's where a lot of my viewership came from, is educating people about these topics or sharing my experiences or things like that. So those videos definitely get more views than, say, a makeup video will or a cooking video will at this point. But I'm okay with that, because I feel like I have the most wisdom and the most knowledge to give when it comes to trans issues, as opposed to any other topic.
Has it been challenging being so open about the whole process? A lot of people use a different approach and are very turn inward, very private,
Yes.
and then sort of transition one day, or even some people even change jobs and careers before transitioning, whereas yours has been very well documented from the beginning.
Yeah, I think, I totally respect everybody who's made a decision to be private about their transition, and I think that's, their choice. And I think that's honestly in a lot of places much safer and a lot easier in terms of the social backlash. A lot of trans people, when they start transitioning, they have to find other jobs, or they have to find other housing or whole other lives, because a lot of the time they're not accepted in their workplace, or things like that. So I guess I was lucky, and I was accepted in my workplace, but I just felt the need to work on mine instead. It can be difficult. It can be very emotionally exhausting, because everybody has an opinion about very personal things that I've decided to do or that I think are best for me. But I just try to remember that I'm helping people, and I'm helping people know what to expect with their own experiences in their own lives, and that keeps me balanced, and it keeps me healthy mentally, because there is a lot of pressure.
You have a very good point with this, and actually when we see people who are transitioning, one of the things I try to do is to determine how they're going about it, whether they want to sort of appear the most feminine they can immediately or do this in slow steps, because there's really no one way that's right, and we have to base it upon each individual's life circumstances and goals and comfort.
Absolutely.
You can make it a very smooth process, but it takes some thought and planning, certainly.
Yes, definitely.
Now, has there ever been anything that you spoke about online or put in one of your videos that you later regretted, where you thought, oh, I think I told too much this time?
There's nothing that I've put out there that I regret saying about myself. No, I don't think so. Because even if my mind changes later down the road, like if I say one thing in one video like 2 years ago, and today I say a different thing, it's not that I necessarily regret saying the other thing, it's that I've grown and I've changed. And I think it's kind of cool that I can go back and see that. Whereas, people that aren't so public with everything in their life, they don't necessarily have that record. So I'm kind of excited about that. I like that I am so public in the way that I change, and I like that I can go back and see how I've grown over the past few years. Because I've been doing this professionally for about 2 years now, and I don't feel like it's the same person anymore, and it's interesting to see it.
It must be fun to look back at your older videos and realize how you've changed.
Yeah, definitely. It's fun in a way of like, it's kind of wacky, but then it's also comforting, because sometimes I forget how far I've come. And when I look at old videos, I can definitely, like, I'm reminded that I've done things and I've gone places and I've kind of accomplished what I wanted to do, and I feel so much better now. You know what I mean?
Well, speaking about how things have changed,
yes.
Now you mentioned earlier that you had surgery.
Mm-hmm.
How did that decision come about? Like, was this something you've thought about for a long time? Or
Yes. Yeah, so pretty much since puberty, which is when your body starts to change and your face starts to change and things like that, I was immediately uncomfortable with everything that was happening with my bone structure and my facial structure, and just the way that it was changing was not what I wanted, not what I saw for myself at all. And I didn't really understand that that was a gender thing until I was about 19. And then immediately I knew, okay, well, people that transition, there's options for facial feminization surgery. I guess I'd heard of it at some point, I don't know. And I spoke to some friends who had it, and they recommended me to you. And I did lots of research with lots of doctors, but I liked your work the best because it was a very natural result, and it was what I wanted for myself. Because what I wanted was to look like I had undergone estrogen-based puberty instead of testosterone-based puberty. I didn't want a different face. I just wanted to look like myself, but comfortable. I wanted to look like how I thought I looked in my head. You know what I mean? And I think I do now, and that's really, really comforting. So the decision was something that I've always, always, always felt that I really needed, and I'm very lucky that I got it so young too.
And you look great.
Thank you. I think so too.
What was the hardest part about the surgery and the recovery?
Honestly, I thought it was going to be the pain, but I had very little pain. And I don't know if that was the medication or I just have some intense pain tolerance. But the hardest part was probably just the swelling. And maybe being a little bit unable to take care of myself. But I thankfully had amazing support from both my parents, but my mom was with me for most of it. So, I mean, I couldn't really eat. I couldn't really, bend over very much because I couldn't.
You feel like a balloon.
Yes, absolutely. I felt very blimped up, and I felt, I was on painkillers, and there was a lot of factors. But I think, the hardest part definitely wasn't a scary thing. It was just inconvenient. But that was only about a week, and then I was good, and I was able to do everything on my own. So.
How soon after the surgery did you see the benefits?
Immediately. As soon as, I didn't really see myself right away, but I think you came by to check on me and you showed me in the mirror my forehead, and I was so happy because even though I was a little bit swollen and I looked I was just in surgery, I could tell that the bone was different. I could tell that it was shaped where I wanted. I don't know exactly what you did, but I knew that it was shaped the way I wanted it to be shaped, and immediately I was so relieved. But in terms of looking like the way I wanted to, like in terms of being put together, I guess maybe even just 2 weeks after I was doing my makeup and doing my hair and looking pretty normal. I was still very swollen, but you could definitely tell I looked more feminine or looked more like how I wanted to look. 2 weeks, 3 weeks maybe. But all the swelling went down, I would say maybe a month and a half later.
What was the slowest part?
My jaw, for sure. My chin too. I thought my chin was healed, and I didn't even notice. When I looked in the mirror, I didn't notice, but it was there was so much swelling on one side. It was funny in hindsight, but it didn't really take that long. It took maybe a month and a half, 2 months before it was totally presentable and totally symmetrical. But that was the slowest part. Everything else, a couple weeks.
And that's an excellent point. Certain parts of the surgery, such as the forehead, you'll see it immediately. Now you're going to be swollen, but the forehead, you can see where it's smooth now. You may even be able to feel it and tell.
Yes.
And if we do something to your nose, for example, through the cast, you'll be able to tell. But the jaw is definitely the slowest. Mm-hmm. And what's been the feedback you've gotten from your viewers and friends?
I mean, everybody that knows me personally can tell how happy I am, and that is what's important to people who, like my friends and family, right? There have been nothing negative at all. Everybody says, like, you look great. There are some people that think I didn't go far enough. But the thing is, that wasn't what it was about, you know? And I think anytime you're going to be undergoing a cosmetic procedure, it needs to be about how you picture yourself and not about what other people think at all, right? So anybody that knows me knows exactly what I wanted, and this is it. And
That's right, because you pick what you want to change about your face and what you don't.
I was very specific, and you delivered.
So now, your videos are fun to watch. There's a lot of special effects and things. Do you do all that on your own?
Yeah. I don't do anything too fancy. I have friends that do some really interesting, intricate things, but I do all the editing myself and pretty much everything. I've gotten some help more lately this year with filming from friends and things, but it's for the most part like a one-person operation.
And you know, for people who are fans and know you, I'm sure they'd like to know the backstory of the slice of bread. People wear bread shirts. Yes. There are bread icons. There are bread emojis.
Yeah. So my viewers are called the little buns, which is not like little rabbits. It's little like dinner rolls, like buns. And I'm the bread mom. And it kind of, the names came around, I think I was doing a monthly favorites video, which is basically where I review my favorite things of the month. And my last favorite was a baguette, because I loved this baguette. So I just ate the baguette on camera, and it was a funny little joke. And somebody in the comments said, we're the bread squad. It just came out of nowhere, just bread, and it became a brand. And I think, you know, even for some like insider scoop, if you want to have, I think anytime you're doing work that involves viewers or the public, responding to their perception of you is very important. So my original branding was way different, but the bread thing, they loved it, I loved it, it worked. It was natural, it felt good. And bread mom came around because I kind of want to be a maternal figure for especially young LGBTQ kids. Some of them don't have families that are supportive, so I want to kind of be a surrogate in that place if they need it. So I try to be maternal and supportive and caring in my energy on camera, I guess. And that's where the bread imagery and the mom thing comes in.
And do you have any advice for people who are thinking about having facial surgery?
Do your research. Talk to people who've had it done, from every doctor you're looking at. Do not take anybody's, how do I word this? People are going to have opinions on what you should have done and, you know, how you should look, but you need to do your best to shut them out and only think about how you want yourself to look, because it's your face, you know what I mean? And you have to make the best decision for you. So I guess that's my advice.
Well, that's good advice.
Thank you.
And what's next for Stef?
Well, I'm doing a lot of traveling lately. I'm trying to spread my wings and try new things all over, especially the US, because I'm from Canada. So it's exciting adventuring around the world. But in terms of new creative pursuits, I am going back to voice lessons, and I'm going to dabble in music soon. That's my new project. So we're going to see what happens with that. Because I did that in high school, but I was a different person, if you know what I mean. So I need to go back to school. But that's next on my agenda.
Well, we'll all look forward to it. And
Thank
you so much for speaking with me today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been so much fun coming back and visiting.
Pleasure.